Greece's parliament is debating the prime minister's latest plan to try and secure a bailout and keep the country in the Eurozone. Greek Prime Minister Alex Tsipras submitted a reform proposal on Thursday, requesting a $59 billion bailout from the Eurozone. The 13-page proposal includes tax hikes, pension reforms, and privatization. Many of those elements were already rejected in a referendum by Greek voters last Sunday. Greek Parliament is going to vote on the proposal later today. The most important vote, however, could come this Sunday in Brussels when EU leaders convene at an emergency summit. Joining me now is Dan Mitchell. He's an economist with the Cato Institute. Dan, let's talk about these new proposals. They sound awfully a lot like the ones that were rejected by the people in that referendum. What's going on here?
I think the Greek government, it's amateur hour. Not just amateur hour, it's also like that old Bill Murray movie Groundhog Day, because we've been through this over and over again where there are one bailout proposal after another, and then the Greek government pretends to do reforms, but the reforms never work. So I'm afraid at the end of the day, whatever happens, Greece will wind up even further in debt with an even more moribund economy, with European taxpayers kicking in more money for nothing. So it's hard to be happy or optimistic about this.
What does Greece stand to lose here if it is kicked out of the Eurozone?
Well, this is the real leverage that the European Troika has, the ECB, the European Commission, and the IMF. The leverage is that the Greeks don't want to go back to the drachma. The Greek people don't want to because they worry then their government will have a currency that they'll depreciate and debase, and so they'd rather hold on to their euros. And ultimately, at the end of the day, if Tsipras wants to stay in charge, he better make sure he keeps Greece in the euro, and because to keep Greece in the euro, they have to make sure the European Central Bank is happy. That's forcing the Greek government to do these reforms that, in theory, the Greek people just rejected in a referendum.
Is it possible, though, for those reforms to be pushed through despite that referendum? Like, is there some kind of sleight of hand going on here? Because I like you, I'm sort of at a loss to explain how the people can so vehemently vote against any kind of reforms in this fashion, but then the government is hoping to push them through anyway.
I guess the analogy is that you have some business partner that has a lot of leverage over you, and you throw a temper tantrum saying, well, I don't want to agree to your terms. And then your business partner says, well, if you don't, I'm cutting up the deal. And you say, oh, okay, I give up. So the Greek government is being petulant and immature. The Greek voters are being petulant and immature. But at the end of the day, if they want to keep the euro, they have no choice but to surrender. But of course, the surrender isn't going to lead to a good result because it simply means that they're going to raise taxes further, which the Greek people don't bother to pay them anyhow. The Greek government will pretend to cut spending, but we've seen that those spending cuts don't really materialize at the end of the day. So, as I said before, more debt, bigger government, more bailouts, more European taxpayers losing money at the end of the day. So it's really a tragic situation. It's symptomatic of what happens when the welfare state reaches its end conclusion of too many people riding in a wagon and not enough people producing.
I guess then at the end of the day, we've got 30 seconds left, Dan. Will we at least see some kind of resolution this weekend, in your opinion?
We'll probably see a deal because the Greek government ultimately is over a barrel if it wants to keep the euro. But I don't think we'll see a resolution that actually solves the problem. And that's what's so discouraging. Nobody wants to bite the bullet and just realize that the Greek people have to learn to only consume what they produce. And that means having a lot smaller government, but the politicians and the people in Greece want to pretend that they can keep a big government.
Dan Mitchell, economist for the Cato Institute. Good to have you on, Dan. Thank you.